Hello and welcome to the next webinar in our What's New series. Thanks for joining us today. In today's webinar, we'll cover some of the newest features in Microsoft 365 that you can implement in your business, as well as covering some brand new features that give us a bit of an insight into the future of where Microsoft is headed. Don't feel like you need to take notes or take it all in straight away, as we'll be sending out a recording of the webinar and a follow-up fact sheet later today. Also, if you have any questions, please do feel free to drop those into the Q&A box at the side at any time. There will be some dedicated time for questions at the end of the webinar, but I will try my best to keep an eye on that Q&A box as we go along as well, just in case anything relevant pops up that we can answer as we go along. So let's take a look at the agenda for today. We're going to start with a quick intro to Bedroq and who we are. Then we'll be looking at a first look at how Microsoft Copilot with Teams will work. Then we'll be looking at saving costs on Teams Phone with the new shared calling option. Links from Outlook and Teams opening in Microsoft Edge. We'll be taking a look at why that's happening, how you can stop that happening if you don't like that happening. Then we'll be looking at new file browsing options in OneDrive. And then we'll be looking at Microsoft Loop and the app that is now available in public preview. Finally, we'll be just going over what's next, the steps that you can take within your organisation if you want to get better value out of some of these apps that you already have, and the next steps that you can take in terms of this webinar series, joining us again as we go ahead next month in September. So a quick welcome for those of you who might not have met us before, might not know who Bedroq are. My name is Jennifer Benge and I am the marketing manager at Bedroq. Bedroq is an IT managed service provider, and we're also officially a Microsoft Solutions partner for modern work. This means that most of the IT we implement is based on the Microsoft stack. So that includes Microsoft 365, Microsoft Teams, Azure, SharePoint, etc. If you'd like to know more about what us being a solutions partner means for you, then you can take a look at our website. We've got an article on there right now about how our solutions partner status could benefit your organisation. We're also experts in secure, resilient networks and managed IT solutions where high performance is critical. So we work with organisations that have some of the highest security requirements in the UK. The most important thing we want to achieve, no matter what your organisation does, is to help your IT strategy support your overall business strategy. We do this with the help of our 8 strategic rocks that you can see on the screen here now. So these 8 rocks are data, skills, backup, strategy, investment, security, quality of service, and collaboration. The collaboration rock is the focus of this webinar series, as Microsoft 365, Microsoft Teams are at their heart collaboration apps. So we just want to make sure that you're getting the best value out of those tools that you're probably already investing in, but might not necessarily be using to their full potential. So if you were on last month's webinar, you'll know that our main prediction for this year's Microsoft Inspire conference, which happened a few weeks back, was that there would be a focus on Microsoft Copilot. And that was pretty much what happened in the end. So many of the new features that were announced at the conference were linked to the Copilot platform. Microsoft have announced that their goal is to be able to have a natural language interface with computers. So going forwards, they're really going to focus on this shift to new generation of AI. And they want these tools to be used as naturally as possible. So in the same way that you might speak to a colleague, you'll be able to ask your computer to do something for you and just naturally ask it in the same way you would talk to another human being. And your computer will use these AI tools to work out what it is you want and present them back to you in the most efficient way. So very much so, that is the path that Microsoft are on. And I think that is really going to colour a lot of the announcements and updates that we have in these webinars going forwards, as a lot of the tools already that we've been talking about for the past year or so are very much AI-based tools. So when we're thinking about Copilot, Microsoft Loop, those are built on a platform that's kind of learning with AI all the time. And I think that we'll just see more and more of that as we go forwards. So speaking of Copilot, Copilot has AI at its heart, and we've been discussing the features of Copilot that we know about so far for the last few months of this webinar series. Microsoft 365 Copilot will be integrated into the apps you already use every day. And the idea is that this will take away some of the more boring admin type tasks, take those off of your plate, and give you more time to do the work that robots can't currently do. Who knows what many years into the future it will be, but at the moment there are definitely some things that humans are very much better at than the robots. So far in this webinar series, we've looked at how Copilot will work in Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, and SharePoint. And these are gradually going to start rolling out, and we're hoping that we'll be able to see some of the output of these, and some of them will start to become publicly available by the end of this year and into early next year. Something new that we did learn at Microsoft Inspire conference is how Copilot will be priced. Obviously, this is something that's come up in a lot of questions over the past few months, and we haven't known the answer for you, but this was announced at Microsoft Inspire, so we can share now. It's definitely not going to be cheap, unfortunately. The announcement that was made at Inspire is that Copilot will cost $30 per user per month. So it's not going to be something that you're likely to roll out across your entire organization straight away. You're probably going to want to trial it with smaller groups of people, and perhaps even just maintain smaller groups of users going forwards as well. So really thinking about who within your organization is going to get the most value out of these tools, who's going to have the most time saved, and therefore you've got that value argument of, you know, we're investing into the technology, but in the long run it is actually saving us a lot of admin time, and those people that have been tied up doing that admin can then do something else more useful. So that's something that is going to be a kind of trial and error, I think, for all of us as Copilot is released. Just taking a look at how it might work within your organization, how you could start to think about rolling it out as a trial, and who would get the most benefit out of it. So the latest update as well on new features within Microsoft Copilot is that how it will work with Microsoft Teams. So we looked at some of those other apps earlier, and at Inspire, there was an announcement about how Copilot will integrate into Microsoft Teams. The idea is that Copilot will incorporate advanced AI capabilities into phone calls and written chat conversations, which will help you stay on top of your discussions, capture important information, and follow up on action items. So in this example, you can see Copilot creating a summary of a live phone call, and then building a table of action items that have been discussed during the call. This will allow you to stay focused on the conversation and saves you time by taking notes for you. You can use this information when writing a follow-up email, for example, and also the supporting information that you get will also include any questions that were raised by the other person during a call. So again, in that follow-up email, you can make sure that you cover off all of their concerns, all of their questions, just to make sure that both of you are on top of everything that was discussed during that call. In this instance, AI is doing the boring work for you. So taking notes and recording action items, those are both things that kind of do sometimes prevent you from really taking part in a conversation if you're slightly distracted, trying to make sure that you've captured every point that's been raised, or making sure that you're assigning the right people to follow up on different action items. This is doing that for you. So hopefully that's a bit of admin that nobody's going to really miss, that Copilot can take over for us. So in this example, Copilot is working in a Teams chat thread, picking out the key information and creating a summary of things that it might otherwise be easy to miss. So it allows you to ask specific questions, or it will give you suggested questions to use as prompts to help you get caught up on the conversation so far, and it will organise discussion points and summarise relevant information for you. So I don't know about you, but we have loads of different chat conversations going on all the time at Bedroq, and sometimes, particularly if you've been away in a meeting or off for a day, it's hard sometimes to catch up on all of those different conversations. So I think this could be a useful feature in terms of summarising what you might have missed and just giving you the key action points without having to scroll back and read every single conversation in detail. You can also specify a time period for your summary to include. So Copilot will provide prompts for the past day, the past 7 days, or the past 30 days. So that way as well, you won't have to ask for an update that may have already been asked earlier in the chat. So there's less repetition going on in that chat for everybody. Copilot will analyze chat messages and highlight the main points and action items such as deadlines, milestones, and deliverables for each participant in that chat. You can ask Copilot to extract key information, for example, to create a table with roles and responsibilities and or a list of dependencies or issues that have been raised within that chat. And also it can flag specific information for you personally. So it will create a list of your open action items that have been discussed within that chat. And it will just help you stay informed without having to interrupt the team just to ask, oh, you know, who's doing that action that we talked about last week? It will just be able to summarize that for you. The information will be there. So again, they've kind of aimed to be a time-saving measure. You know, there are things that we're probably wasting quite a bit of time on within our organisations that are just admin, just keep catching up with people, trying to keep up with different tasks. And hopefully these kind of AI features that are going to be starting to integrate into our everyday work will help just remove some of that wasted time. So there's a couple of questions that have come in around Copilot, so I'm just going to look at those quickly now. Is Copilot set to be included in any of the current licensing, e.g. M365 E5? So no, you will have to have certain levels of licensing for it to kind of sit on top of, but it will always be that extra $30 per user per month. It's not going to be an add-on integrated feature for any of the licensing as far as we know. It's always just going to be an additional that you're going to have to pay for, unfortunately. John says, am I the only one who can see that AI and things like Copilot won't free up people to do other things? It could potentially eliminate people from an organisation's requirement. Good point, John. I think we don't really know until we actually start using these programs. You know, that it's possible that it will free up time. It's possible that then some of that freed up time, that will be one person's entire job role. But I don't think we can truly say that right now until we actually see how well this is going to work, who needs to do some of the admin around implementing it, who needs to, you know, set up policies for how organizations are going to use it. There are an awful lot of questions that do get raised anytime we talk about anything AI. And I think it's important to keep that discussion open as we go along, because there will be changes. It's, you know, that's just going to happen. There's no way of getting around that. There will be changes for how we work. And it's just as soon as we are able to start using these kind of technologies, that's when we'll know what their impact might be. So let's go forwards to the next item on our agenda, which moves away slightly from that AI chat and discussion and back to some of the standard features that we're using at the moment. So this is a bit more of a back-end Microsoft 365 update that aims to simplify the management of Teams phone deployments and save costs. So shared calling allows admins to enable groups of users to make and receive calls using a shared phone number and calling plan. So it might be that there are groups of users within your organization who currently all have individual phone numbers and user features enabled for them, and they don't actually need all of those individual features and a license each they can share. So I think this is quite a nice little feature, a bit surprising that it's kind of such a simple feature that can be implemented just to save a bit of cost. So with this shared calling, a single phone number and calling plan can be shared across a team of users licensed for Teams Phone, either through E5 or Teams Phone Standard. So if you are using some of these Teams calling options at the moment, it's worth looking into. Just look at your overall usage, see if there are some areas where you potentially could save some cost there by integrating and combining some of those users into a shared phone number and call package. So admins will be able to enable shared calling in the Teams Admin Center by creating a custom shared calling policy. This will assign a resource and phone number to the custom policy and then assign the users to this policy. Shared calling will be available later in the quarter, so we're going to be looking out for it around about September time. So a couple of questions that comment on that one. Will only one person be able to make a call at a time? Yep. So they'll have one number. It's essentially a whole group of people sharing one phone line. So if you've got loads of people who are constantly having to use the phone at the same time, this is not for you. But if you have people who don't have to make so many phone calls as part of their normal job, this could be a useful feature for them and a cost-saving feature for the organisation as a whole. Okay, let's move on. So this is something that has come up actually as a conversation within our organisation, within Bedroq. So I'll tell you a story about that in a moment. This is the idea of links opening within Microsoft Edge. So this is a new feature that has been announced for Microsoft Teams, where when you're opening a web page link from Teams chat using Microsoft Edge, the chat window will follow you to the Edge browser so that you can view the content and the chat side by side and continue the conversation as well within that window. So this will be useful if you're discussing a very specific feature within that web page that's been shared and you need to comment on, one paragraph or one diagram or one particular part of that page that someone's asked you to look at. You'll be able to also access your recent chats and start new chats directly from an embedded pane in the Edge browser as well. So this, if you are constantly having to comment on different web pages and discuss different points within a web page, it just saves you having to switch back and forth between the apps too much. So this has been announced as a new update coming soon, and it will be the launch time that we've been given at the moment is just that it's readily available later this year. Who knows when later this year is, but that does bring me to the other feature, which is links opening within Microsoft Edge from Outlook. So this is where I was saying it prompted a conversation within Bedroq itself, because suddenly a few weeks back, people were saying, anytime I open a link from my emails, it's opening in Edge. I don't even use Edge. This is really annoying. So this may have happened in your organization. I would say it's quite likely to have happened in your organization because Microsoft released this update that does a similar thing to the Teams update. They released this in Outlook a few weeks ago and didn't really announce it as a new feature. What they did do, however, is automatically change everyone's default browser to Microsoft Edge so that any link that you opened suddenly appears in Edge, even if you have previously changed to a different default browser. So if you wondered why this has been happening, or don't like Edge, don't use Edge, use Chrome, for example, as a different browser, and you want Outlook to go back to opening links in your preferred browser, you'll just need to update your browser preferences in your Outlook settings again. So simply go to Outlook settings, advanced, and then reset your preference in the drop-down box next to the open hyperlinks section. So yeah, like I say, Microsoft kind of sprung this on us. Suddenly there's a new feature that opens the link with a little panel that shows your email at the side, but it does automatically do that in Edge. So if that's not for you, if you would rather it didn't do that, then just go into the settings and change it back again, and that will stop happening. Okay, next up, we have some new file browsing options in OneDrive. So there's a new meetings view coming soon to OneDrive Online that will help you get all of your meeting content easily and quickly. When you view the meetings view, you'll see the meetings that you've got coming up across the next week, followed by a list of meetings that have already occurred. This view brings together all of the content shared, both in the meeting invites and during the meeting itself, in the meeting chat and meeting recording. So it brings all of that together into one place so that you can catch up really easily. You can get to the latest file associated with recurring meetings, for example, by searching on the meeting title. This is useful if you've just missed the whole day of meetings and you need to catch up. You can just literally go through your calendar view, catch up on all of the content that was shared in those meetings, and just do it directly from this OneDrive view. So the window that we've been given for this actually becoming publicly available is quite a wide window. We've been told this is due sometime between late August and early October. So we'll keep an eye out and let you know when it's actually up and working and ready to use. Along with the meeting view, there is also a new people view coming to OneDrive, which will group files by who shared them. So it will group it by person and just say who shared this. Here's everything that's been shared by them. So you can view by person, you can filter by file type, and you can even pin some of your key collaborators. So if there's someone you regularly share content with and are working on a project with, for example, you can pin them just so that it's really easy to access the information and content that they're sharing with you. This one's due slightly sooner than the meeting view, and we've been given a date of some point between late July to early September. So keep an eye out now, it should be coming anytime soon. Hey, Microsoft Loop. It feels like we've been talking about this one for even longer than we've been talking about Copilot. But again, it's one of those features that is going to be, I think, just continuously rolling on and developing new features that we can talk about. So when Microsoft Loop was first announced, it was designed to be a place for you to organize everything you need for a project into a single workspace. We've been waiting a really long time for the Loop app itself to appear. I think we first discussed this around this time in 2021, so it's been a long wait. But we have been able to use Loop components for a little while now across Teams and Outlook, which allow you to share live content within the component no matter where you're viewing it. So if you want to catch up on some of those specific Loop component updates, those are across the last few months of our webinar series. The Loop app is the main workspace where each of these components can sit alongside one another to combine into an overall project plan or brainstorming place. If you trial the Loop app now, you'll see on the left-hand side of the screen, there is a menu with a sort of tutorial type setup that will just walk you through how it works and what you might be able to use it for. When you add a new page, you can simply add a new workspace title and other relevant keywords, and Microsoft Loop will suggest the most relevant pieces to add to your workspace. Choose which ones you want to add and then create your workspace, and content will be organised into pages that you can easily view just using that left-hand menu. You'll be able to build a page using components such as tables and lists, which can then be shared across Teams and Outlook with the information contained in those components staying up to date no matter where you're viewing it. So again, this is designed as a time-saving feature that where you would normally spend time kind of emailing backwards and forwards, just saying what's the latest update on this document, you can then just look at this component which will be constantly live just to get the latest update on that. Again, no matter where those components are, they will always have the same live information contained within them. So you can update them in a range of different places and everyone will be able to see that information no matter where they're viewing it. So how might you use it if you do want to have a go at using Microsoft Loop? So at the moment, the Loop app is opt-in during the public preview phase. That was a tongue twister. So an IT admin will need to follow some steps to configure and enable it within your organisation. So if you do want to start using this, you can go to an admin, or if you are an admin, you'll just need to take some steps to enable it. When the Loop app is disabled or users don't have access, they will see the lock icon on the right-hand side there, and that will tell and it will give them a link that tells them how to enable the Loop app. If you did want to try this without kind of immediately linking it with your organisation, it is actually possible to try it out using a personal account. So that's what I've been doing for the past couple of weeks, just playing around using my personal account. It's quite easy to get access, and that just allows you to try out some of these new features without having to go all in with saying you want your organisation to get on board straight away. So worth taking a look if you think it might be a useful place for you to kind of collaborate and work on project plans together. Again, this is very early stages for the Loop app. We're going to be getting a lot more updates, I feel, as we go forwards towards the end of the year. So that was all the updates that we've had. I just wanted to give you a reminder of our stakeholder workshop, which is the 8 Rocks assessment. This is a workshop designed to help you get consensus on your priorities as a business. So as I was saying earlier, matching up your IT strategy with your overall business strategy. So it can be conducted face-to-face or virtually, and it's designed just to get leaders and investors aligned on the best way to solve their IT issues. So potentially, I know there's quite a lot of you on here who are IT managers who potentially don't have that kind of board level status of being able to say, yep, we definitely need to go this way for our strategy. This is designed to really help you out in terms of getting those people in the room just to prove where you need to make investments and address cost savings and investment decisions, just to make your entire IT strategy a bit stronger, and help you all agree on the priorities that you need going forwards. So if you do want to hear more about that IT assessment, the 8 Rocks strategy, please do contact us following this webinar and we'll be happy to talk you through it in more detail. Okay, some Q&A. I know we've had some more questions coming in along the side as I've been talking, so I'll have a quick look at those now. And if you do have further questions, please take this time now to drop those in, and I'll do my best to get through them all. Also, if you don't drop them into the side panel now, please feel free to ask any questions you might have in an email in response to the recording that goes out later today as well. So do you think Bing Enterprise will be like the poorer relation but still offer a great alternative to Copilot? So I have to say, I haven't done as much research into Bing Enterprise at this stage as I have done into Copilot. My understanding is that they will perform quite different tasks. So Bing Enterprise will be kind of like the ChatGPT combined into your browser, answering all kinds of questions that you might ask it. Whereas Copilot is going to be absolutely integrated into the apps that you're already using. So it will be able to take a look at something you're typing in a Word document, and just help you change the tone of it, improve the writing of it, do all sorts of things that are just integrated into your daily work. So in that sense, I personally think that Copilot is kind of the more exciting of the two. if that makes it the better version, then I'm not sure. But yeah, I think Copilot and Bing Enterprise will perform quite different tasks. But again, as we go forwards, we might see some crossover between them as well. So will Copilot be the same for all products, or will there be a Copilot just for Teams or Office 365? At this stage, we've just been told about that one licensing option for Copilot. So that would be all encompassing all of the features that we've talked about so far, all of the apps, the Teams features that we've just talked about today, all of that will be included in that $30 per month licensing option. Who knows, as we go further down the line, and Microsoft themselves are testing out how many people are buying into that licensing, maybe they will offer some smaller component pieces of Copilot at different price points, but that's something we don't know about at this stage. There's some other licensing questions. When will Copilot be available? So the timeline that we've been given at the moment is quite vague. It just says that towards the end of this year, things will start becoming publicly available. So some of those integrated app features, we're hoping, it's going to be very much towards the end of the year. So we're going to be looking for those around November, December into early next year. And I don't think it will be a big bang of everything comes all at once. I think in a similar way to we've seen with Microsoft Loop, they've released different components and it kind of has built up into the stage where it is now. So they've got all excited about all of these amazing features that all work really amazingly well together. But I think it will be quite some time before we get all of those features available to us. Okay. Just looking at a couple of other questions. Okay, there's a couple that I'm going to have to get back to separately, unfortunately, because I think I must have missed them coming in, and they're quite sort of specific to something that we were talking about at the time. So I'm going to get back to you separately on those, and sorry that I didn't see them as they came in. I'll do my best to get back to you later today to respond to those ones. Okay, as I said, if you do have any other questions that occur to you as time goes on, or later today, if you're perhaps watching the recording again, please do feel free just to pop those in an email. The email will come to me if you respond to that recording, and either myself or one of our more technical experts will get back to you with an answer on that. Okay, so the next webinar in the series is coming up in September. So if you do want to join us again, Cara is going to just quickly drop the link into the announcements for you. So just follow that link, sign up straight away if you would like to join us again on the 7th of September. Remember as well, we will send out a recording every time. So if you're not sure yet if you can make that exact time, don't worry, just register anyway, and we will send the recording to anyone who has signed up. So I look forward to seeing you again, those of you who can make it again on the 7th of September. And thank you very much for joining us today for this webinar. Look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you very much, everyone. Goodbye.